Hello, welcome to Business Reporter's Best of British Business campaign. I'm Ashley Blake. Businesses are currently experiencing the toughest market for recruitment in decades. Not only are they struggling to attract employees who can help grow the business again after 2 years of economic uncertainty, but they're also struggling to retain those that they hire. How can this be reversed? Is it a problem with the working environment or with the economy? Or is it down to the recruitment process too? This is what we're going to discuss today with Louise Shaw and Mike Sixsmith from Omni Resource Management Solutions. Louise, Mike, good morning.
Good morning.
Morning.
So let's start. Why are businesses finding it hard to recruit and retain a workforce?
Sure. So it's probably really good just to think about the current context that we're actually facing. So during COVID, everything essentially stopped. So businesses stopped growing, they put project plans on hold. And then the employees themselves, they actually just took a moment to stop, observe what was going on in the environment. So those career moves didn't happen. Now, coming out of COVID, what we're actually seeing is unprecedented growth and change. Projects and organisations are growing fast, so they need more employees. At the same time, employees have rethought what do they want from their life and their careers. Surprisingly, we've actually seen 600,000 people leave the market pre-retirement as well, which has been a real surprise. So with organisations wanting more, employees wanting something different, they're now leaving. So we have both recruitment and retention challenges going on at the same time.
So it's to be honest, it's a bit of a perfect storm. You know, we're right in the middle of probably the biggest labour mismatch in the history of the UK. A real crisis in hiring is developing. So you got resignations are skyrocketing and organisations having to put as much effort into retaining key skills as they are to attracting people into new roles. And of course, getting it wrong can really hit the bottom line hard. A lot of companies, we find, they're struggling to strike the balance. Right. Which is why I think a lot of them are starting to talk to organisations like ourselves about how outsourcing can support them.
When you talk to industry, have you found that they're in a bit of a panic with their back against the wall, perhaps?
Yeah, I think a lot of them are, and a lot of them are struggling to stand still. You know, we're working with one organisation that have got a very clear plan for growth over the next 3 years. But the reality is that, you know, they've lost as many people over the last 12 months as they've hired. So, you know, they're struggling to stand still and has a big impact on the bottom line.
So how does Omni help?
So we help by first understanding what's going on for that particular business. So it is unique for every organisation, whether it is, like Mike just said, whether they want to grow or they want to diversify into different things. So we look at their full end-to-end talent challenges. And particularly we want to be focusing on retention first. If people are leaving faster than they're hiring, we need to fix that first.
Right.
So we look at the reasons behind that. So we have a benchmarking tool that we use, which is essentially a diagnostic, and it looks at 16 different elements of resourcing. So pretty in-depth, but actually can be quite light touch. Everything from their brand, how they perceived in the marketplace, are they an attractive employer? Retention, how they select people, and essentially are they selecting people that will stay? What tech are they using? And actually the capability of their hiring managers, which is you can have everything in place and that can be sometimes where it can all start to go wrong. And we help by understanding first and then working with organisations to think about what, quite tactical often at this moment in time, things they can do to really start to turn it around at pace.
I see. So it's like a bit of a consultation and overall of their business. That must be quite a scary conversation to have with some companies.
Yeah, it is, and it's a very different time, you know, to what it was 2 years ago. And organisations are feeling the pinch, and I think a lot more organisations now are open to, you know, how they improve their recruitment effectiveness.
Because they have to.
Because they have to, yeah. You know, tried and tested models aren't necessarily working anymore. And we work with a lot of organisations who, you know, have a very traditional way of recruiting. So in-house teams, and maybe they're complemented by recruitment agencies, which can be, you know, pretty expensive. And what you find with that kind of model is that it really lacks flexibility and scale, particularly, you know, if you've got fixed headcounts internally. And if recruitment increases significantly, costs can spiral, out of control if you're relying more so on agencies. So what we do as an outsource provider is we provide organisations with recruitment professionals who are embedded in their organisation and work with them until, there's no longer the need. So think of it like plug and play, really.
Right.
Very scalable, very cost effective.
Perhaps you could share with us a success story, some case studies, if you like.
Yeah, sure. So a good one to share, one that we're really proud of actually, is with a financial services organisation. So actually it was life before COVID. So it was around 3-4 years ago we started working with them. They work in City London and also in the Northwest as well. And they were struggling with attracting. And as Mike just said, their go-to was using agencies, really expensive. 75% of their hires were agencies. They hire about 200-300 people a year as well, so quite medium-sized numbers. And essentially, what we did with them is focused on their employer brand, made them attractive, and that started by looking at what are the key messages we wanted to put out there about working with them as an organisation. Touch things like their careers website, all of the touch points that the candidate would have. Another really interesting part of what they used to do is they struggled to make decisions on new hires.
Right.
So they would invite candidates back time and time again. Some candidates could be coming back 4 or 5 times for an interview. And of course, they're just going to fall out of the process. So we looked at their whole selection framework, how they select, what were the steps, how it felt from a candidate's perspective, and then hiring for both skills and behaviours too. And we went through a big process of training their hiring managers. So the result of that is reduced time to hire, reduced massively the cost, but actually getting better quality candidates in. And now they've matured as a business, we're now really taking it to the next stage, which is even more exciting, and we're looking at their diversity practices. So starting to make some really massive inroads with them. Small things that we do are looking at using blind CVs, for instance, and we're just currently rolling out a new training program for managers as well.
I see. So if I was a business leader and I'm looking to recruit, what's the 3 key things that I should take away from this conversation?
Before you even think about the 3 things, I think it's really important that organisations understand that the balance of power has well and truly shifted, and that employers really need to understand that they have to prove that they're the right organisation to join and to stay and develop your career with. I think the beginning of that for me, and the first thing would be to get your head around retention in your organisation and invest some time into understanding why people are leaving.
Right.
Yeah, you'd be absolutely amazed at the amount of organisations that don't collate retention data. It's absolutely critical that they do, and they should use that evidence to make changes. And sometimes it won't be just about salary. It could be about the right working environment, it could be around opportunities for progression and learning, or it could be actually around your people managers. And some of the fixes might be quite quick to make, but have really big immediate impact.
So when you're working with organisations, you walk into this new firm that's asked for your advice. What are the initial things that you're looking for? What are you looking out for where they're going wrong?
It's a whole host of things,
right.
But we are very much data-led, and we're looking at how they are perceived as an employer. So we go in with a lens as a candidate, a diverse candidate as well, and we want to assess how it feels. Why would I want to go and work in that company? As Mike said a second ago, it is a candidate market right now, so it is all the challenges on the company to sell themselves. So another tip which we would actually give is go and apply for a job with your own company. Use your phone, check yourself out on LinkedIn, on your social media, on your website, and then apply for a role and see what that experience actually is like. And quite often that's when organisations do start to phone us because they realise it's actually quite tough and they can be losing candidates before they even enter the process.
I see. And once you've held their hand along this path of recruitment, is that your job done and dusted then, or what happens next for the business?
Absolutely not. So recruitment never stands still. The world of people never stands still. We have to look at the external environment and what's actually happening. Things like flexible working, hybrid working, they are everyone's going through this journey at the moment of actually how will the world of work be, and we adapt how we attract and how we advise the clients that we work with as well on what can keep them top of their game, because all the competitors are doing this as well. So what keeps them top of the game to be that most attractive employer.
I see. And you say it's an employees market at the moment, but that's surely not going to last forever. Will the onus flip back anytime soon, do you think, Mike?
No, I really don't. I think that the competition for talent is going to be extremely high for a long time to come, you know. And I think the winners in it are organisations that really get to grips with keeping good people, investing in personal development for key staff or for key employees, making sure that, you know, there's a good opportunities for internal progression so that people don't really see the need to move elsewhere to fulfil their career. I think, you know, they're going to be organisations that think ahead about recruitment, that pipeline talent, and are less reactive in terms of, you know, how they go about recruiting new employees. And it started already, particularly, you know, coming out of the pandemic. There'll be organisations that really create great working environments. So real flexibility around working within an organisation that effectively removes barriers as to why you wouldn't want to join them and why you wouldn't want to stay and develop your career with them.
Okay, Mike, Louise from Omni Resource Management Solutions.